Hello and welcome to Crimewatch. This is the tattoo on the man in that rape in West London. He also has an eyebrow piercing. More on him later, and what you can do immediately after a rape.
But we begin with a murder without a body. The victim is a 25-year-old. She disappeared 7 months ago in the middle of the night. But where is her body? And who killed her?
Ballyhalbert on the Ards Peninsula in County Down. In World War II, it was an RAF base, well placed as a fighter station to defend Belfast 30 miles to the west. Hurricanes and Spitfires could hide here from the Luftwaffe. Today, it hides another secret. What happened to Lisa Dorian?
Lisa Dorian disappeared over the weekend of Sunday the 27th of February into Monday the 28th of February. After a week, I declared this to be a murder investigation. There has been much finger pointing by various paramilitary groupings in relation to this killing. It is my belief as the detective in charge of this investigation that this was not a sectarian murder.
So, who did kill Lisa? By her own admission, Lisa did a lot of drugs. On this weekend, she partied from Friday to Sunday night. She ended up here at Ballyhalbert Caravan Park. You can still see the original runways, now flanked with caravans.
Come on in, hurry on to this door. Get a bit out in there. Man, this is good.
Would you slow down a wee bit?
No, come on in, hurry on to this
Bugs and Heidi.
By around 10 p.m. that Sunday evening, everyone had gone except Lisa and one of the boys. They were left together for the next 7 hours, and the drugs were getting to them.
They continued to party, and it would seem that they became paranoid at some stage in the early hours of Monday morning.
What was that? There is. It's these traps that they keep setting.
Just calm down. You're making me a bit paranoid here. We'd be better off outside. Give me your hand. Here, on the count of 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
Lisa was a loving, absolutely beautiful girl who loved life and her family and all her friends. She lived for the weekends. She loved going out and enjoying herself. She loved buying new clothes. She was just a normal girl.
Her taste in music was something totally out of my league. I think it was called rave or house, or I couldn't even tell you what the name for it was.
It was just thump 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 on the
ceiling. You could hear it up in the bedroom, you know, and you'd say turn it down. Well, they might turn it down a decibel, but you know it was still there.
Lisa's friend ran to another caravan where he woke up the site warden and sought help in trying to find Lisa.
John, are you up? John! What the hell do you want? They're after me. Who is it? Who's after you? They followed the road down the caravan. Me and Lisa just ran. They're after me. Right, hang on. Get some clothes on. Just right there. Let's go. Spin around. Have a look. You're here. There's no one here now, Darren. They wouldn't have went anywhere else.
Look, will you just calm down, alright? We'll go for a spin around the caravan park in the car, right? Will that do?
Right, okay. We're definitely here.
The pair searched the site and the surrounding area. Lisa was nowhere to be seen.
There are still a lot of unanswered questions. I have one witness who lives nearby to the caravan park who woke to the sound of men shouting. He believes this sound came from the direction of the caravan park. I need to know who this was. I also need to trace a young woman who was seen by a witness at around 5:45 a.m. in Ballyhalbert village near Cocky's shop. This was either on Sunday the 27th or possibly Monday the 28th of February. If this was you, I don't care what you were doing. I need you to come forward so that I can eliminate you from this inquiry.
Lisa was such a beautiful, loving girl. I can't imagine anybody would intentionally want to harm her. I just can't understand that.
It's hard to say when people say, you know, how many children have you got? I used to have 4, now I've only got 3.
And distressing, even more distressing for the parents, you still haven't found the body.
Yes, the body is the key to this, and that's what we're trying to find. A, to give the family peace of mind, and B, to help us catch the people that did this to Lisa.
This area, the Ards Peninsula, there'll be a lot of sort of walkers out there are hunters out there, people who might have... And she was dressed in very distinctive clothing.
Yes, she was, and we have been out with the police have searched. They've searched by land, by air, by sea. We've used underwater search teams to search lakes around the place. But I would appeal to people if they're out and about. It's a large area, the Ards Peninsula. I would appeal to people if they see she was wearing distinctive clothing, a pair of fairy white moon boots and a jacket with a fur collar. I would appeal to people if they see those or see signs of disturbed ground to get in touch with us, please.
Now the caravan, of course, on the Ards Peninsula has got sea around it. It was only about 200 yards from the sea. Obviously, it didn't fall in the sea because you'd have found her very quickly.
Yes. If she'd fallen into the sea, we believe that the tide would have brought her back in. However, searching for Lisa's body in water is one of the things that we have been doing. One of the appeals I want to make tonight is in relation to boat owners, and boat owners who have either bought or sold the boat privately since the beginning of February this year until the end of May. Would they please contact us in this programme? And also in relation to boat owners, anyone in the Ards Peninsula who owns a boat or keeps a boat in the Ards Peninsula, would you please contact us if you think that your boat has been broken into or tampered with sometime from the end of February?
And of course you also need to rule out the girl that looked very much like Lisa in the centre of Ballyhalbert. We're not sure if it's that same night. That's the problem with that.
Yeah, that is the problem with that. Our witness isn't sure whether it was the Saturday into Sunday night or the Sunday into Monday night that they saw this girl, but I would appeal for her please to come forward so that it can help us eliminate her from our inquiries.
Okay, well if you've seen anything, particularly if you know anything about boats that could be relevant, call us here in the studio or the incident room on 028 90 90 1132. Or on this or on any other case, you can call Crime Stoppers, always anonymously if you want. There, it's a free phone, 0800 555 111. And you can text us here at Crimewatch 2. The number's 83199. To get through to us, please begin your text with the letters CW for Crimewatch, and then begin your message.
In recent months, we've given a lot of coverage to a series of attacks on women out late at night in southwest London. Police think the same man who tried to murder 18-year-old Kate Sheedy is also responsible for the murders of Amélie de Lagrange and Marsha McDonnell. Marsha was killed by 3 blows to the back of the head in Hampton on February the 4th 2 years ago. She was just steps away from her front door. You may have seen CCTV on the bus of Marsha travelling home that night on the number 111. Then someone started thinking outside the box. Would the cameras on the bus show what was happening off the bus? Well, in fact, they do. And it's footage that's not been seen publicly until now. DCI Colin Sutton is leading this investigation. Colin, we haven't seen this footage before. What can we see?
Well, it starts off with Marsha getting onto the bus at Kingston. She goes and sits down. You'll then see the bus going into Percy Road near her home in Priory Road in Hampton.
Now, this is a camera looking out the back of the bus.
Front.
At the front of the bus, sorry, looking down the front of the bus. Now, these lights belong to this car.
Yeah, the car comes past at exactly the moment that Marsha gets off the bus. And we can see
see it very clearly there.
Yeah, we can see it there going past the side.
Now, who do you think is in that car?
Well, there were very few other people about. I think the person in that car is probably the person that killed Marsha.
And who also attempted to kill Kate Sheedy and murdered Amélie de Lagrange.
That's extremely possible, yes.
Now, when we go on and then look at what happened afterwards, we know that Marsha got off the bus, and then we can see the brake lights of the car there, stopping in the middle of a junction.
Yeah, it's a crossroads between Priory Road and Percy Road, and the car just stops in the crossroads. I believe that's because the driver of the car is looking to see what Marsha does. Does she go straight on? Does she turn left? Does she turn right? She then does turn right, and I think he follows her.
Because you've got other CCTV as well, and you believe the car then followed Marsha?
Yeah, we've got some CCTV that just shows some lights, a pattern of lights, that the timing works out for that being the car going round to where Marsha was killed.
Well, this is a pretty significant breakthrough in the investigation, isn't it? What about the car itself? What can you tell us about it?
It's a Vauxhall Corsa, a 5-door Vauxhall Corsa hatchback. It's the silver one, and it's the current model, the newer model Corsa, and we're pretty sure it either began with an X or a Y prefix on the registration number.
OK, well, call us here, the number's always on the screen, or try the instant room on 0208 247 7911. And if you've been a victim of crime, you can call victim support, that's on 0845 30 30 900.
We started tonight looking at a murder without a body. Coming up later, 2 serious attacks where we don't even know who the victims are. But what we do know about those attacks comes from the man who carried them out.
I started hearing voices, and they were saying stab.
Well, it's an extraordinary story, and we're happy to say with some extraordinary progress report on recent Crimewatch cases. In February, we showed a picture of Warren Pearson. With help of the calls that came in, he's now facing a charge of conspiring to corrupt a serving police officer.
We've an estate agent to thank for tracking down one of our wanted faces from July's programme. He called in after seeing Roseanne Craig on the screen, and she's now been charged with 5 offences of theft and deception.
Thanks to viewers who called in after June's Crimewatch, British Transport Police in Liverpool have now arrested 2 men for armed robbery at Lime Street Station. They're both on bail. One man, this guy caught legging it with the stolen cash box, is still wanted in connection with this knife-point attack. He's believed to be 31-year-old Carl Anthony de la Cruz.
And these 3 men featured on Crimewatch in February. They've now been convicted of kidnap and armed robbery, and they've been sentenced to 42 years in jail between them. Their roles were featured in our reconstruction of a violent armed robbery in South Manchester. Shazim Jassab, who worked at the bank himself, Munir Hasham and Daniel Stevens were arrested shortly after the programme.
Another charge of deception, this time in Newcastle upon Tyne, shown in July last year. Simon Hunt was identified after an off-duty policeman recognised him on the programme. He's been convicted and sentenced to a 100-hour community punishment order.
And an all-too-familiar face on Crimewatch, but elderly people across London and the South East will be very grateful for seeing less of Alan Johnson, or Stephen Johnson as he sometimes called himself. A prolific fraudster. He's been given 6 years for conning tens of thousands of pounds from pensioners. But the story doesn't quite end there.
How do you remember your PIN number?
Well, I put them in the back of my black address book, disguised as a phone number.
You're not just a pretty face, are you? I'll be gone about a couple of hours.
Where's all that money? Can I dispel any illusions that you may have? I will find out where you live, and I will find out where you keep your money.
Tim, why is it so important to you to find where he lived?
Well, Alan Johnson chose to drop out, Nick. He doesn't appear on any database whatsoever. He's lived essentially a non-existence for many years. What I'd like to do is basically put some meat to the picture. I'd like to trace his home, primarily in order to trace outstanding property and cash.
Staggering amount he conned from older people, some of it in small quantities, some of it substantial savings. But anybody who knew this guy, I mean, he must have lived somewhere.
Absolutely, and that's what I really want to know. That's what I'm looking for.
Where did he come from? Do you know that?
All I know is that he was born in Orpington in Kent, and that's it.
But, I mean, he's been around London and the South East mostly, you know that. So somebody who's seen this guy, knows where he lives, you want them to call?
Absolutely. If anybody has any information where this guy might live, I'd really like to know.
All right, give us a call here in the studio, please.
Now, a violent man on the loose. So violent, he got 2 life sentences. The 61-year-old armed robber, Robert Millar-Sharp, had given all the signs he was ready for rehabilitation. So much so, he'd been given a 5-days-a-week job helping out in a charity shop. That's where things began to unravel.
This is Ford Open Prison. Up until about a month ago, Robert Sharp was here serving 2 life sentences for armed robbery. He's 61 years old. Being an open prison, he was allowed out during the week, where he worked at a local Scope charity shop.
Oh. What is this?
Bob, it's a top.
Oh, of course it's a top. I thought it was something else.
No. Do you want me to do that
Very
for
much,
you?
darling.
Bob and Sarah were close. She saw him almost as a grandfather figure and certainly didn't judge him on his criminal past.
I know why you like working at the till now. You're completely useless at this.
Boo!
Bob!
So
No, it's not funny.
Oh, it's only a wee joke.
You've
That's
got to
just a
stop
wee
doing
joke.
that.
Well, you're not really frightened of me, are you, lassie?
No.
'Cause I noticed you've hidden all the knives. Except this one.
Monday, the 1st of August.
Can you do me a favour?
Of course.
I need you to pay this money in for me down the road, if that's all right.
Aye.
Thank you. I'll keep an eye out the back.
No problem.
Thanks, Bob. Bye-bye.
It would seem old habits die hard for Robert Sharp. He never made it to the Building Society, or indeed back to the prison. He simply disappeared.
Sorry, ladies, we're closing now, I'm afraid. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I've come to give you back that £25. Can we talk out the back?
Yeah, OK.
And would you mind getting off the phone while we're talking?
You've got a nerve asking me to get off my phone after what you did the other day.
Stop texting!
Who do you think you are? I'm going to finish what I'm doing.
No, you're not!
Leave me alone! You don't have to be like this!
Sarah had a tattoo on her wrist, which had only been done a couple of days before. As her wrists were tied, she would have been in a lot of pain.
Where's the night safe box with the money in it?
It's by the carrier bags under the till.
I was hysterical, I was panicking. I'm claustrophobic, and as it was in the office, I had a panic attack. I panicked, didn't know what to do, and I was scared.
Is this something personal against me?
No, nothing personal. I'll ring the police in 15 minutes.
Sarah managed to make a call.
Hello, Sarah? You've got to come to the shop.
I don't feel myself through it now. I feel different. I think he's changed me. It makes me angry. To think what he did, that he could do it, and that he had no right to do it.
Robert Sharp could be anywhere. He's clearly dangerous. If anybody sees him or knows where he is, please get in touch.
Deep down, I do hate him for what he's done. I did trust him. He has betrayed me and it hurts.
What we don't know is where Robert Miller Sharp is now. Have you seen him? He's 61, he's got a strong Edinburgh accent, and he has gangrene in his foot, which needs to be treated regularly. So it's very possible a doctor or a nurse may have seen him. Call here, or the instant room number, 0800 216 667.
One of the most notorious crimes of recent years was the shooting of a child, Tony Ann Byfield. If you remember, her father was murdered in front of her, probably by another drug dealer, and because she was a witness, it seems, 7-year-old Tony Ann was shot as well. Now, Neil Basu is looking into this case. You might have seen him on yesterday. You're with Operation Trident, which of course featured in Murder Blues on BBC One last night. You got a call, an important call, after we featured this case on Crimewatch last year. Somebody giving you a street name.
Yes.
Now, why do you want that person to call again?
Well, I've got some very, very specific questions for that person. That person called over a year ago now and gave us a nickname, if you like, and I've not been able to identify a suspect just from that nickname alone.
So he may know, or she may not think there's anything more they know, but there's nonetheless something very important you need to put to them.
Absolutely.
Now, somebody else later came in with very, very similar information.
Well, this is what makes it a major line of inquiry, is that almost a year later, in a completely different part of the country, we get a person calling in with a London accent as opposed to a Merseyside accent, giving us pretty much the same information, and it's too close to be a coincidence.
Now, you're getting very, very specific information. Who is it? What sort of person are you looking for?
Well, I can't give all the information because that might link the killer perhaps to the callers, and I don't want to do that. But we are getting a general description and a history of this person. He's a British-born black male, probably in his 30s, and he will have connections to the northwest area of London. That's probably Brent. He is familiar with firearms and drugs, and that's probably how he knew Tony Byfield. And we believe that in the early part of 2004, he actually left that part of London, and he's gone either to Liverpool or to Manchester, probably Liverpool, where he's been committing crime in that area. Now, he's going to stick out like a sore thumb. He's a stranger to the area, he's got a London accent. They're very tightly knit criminal communities there, and I want to hear from anyone who recognises that description or that history of movement, and we want to hear from them at Trident.
Such a terrible crime. I mean, most people, well, almost everybody will want to try and solve that, but you know, even if they don't want to do it for Tony Ann, there's a big reward on this as well, isn't there?
There is. The Met's still offering a £25,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest and prosecution of the killers.
OK, well, you can call us here or the instant room. That's on 020 8733 4704, as I say, here in the studio, 0500 600 600. Time now to catch up on our villains caught on camera. Here's Detective Constable Rav Wilding.
All the criminals you're about to see will probably have known that they were caught on CCTV, but they went right ahead and still broke the law. Let's see if we can call their bluff and catch them. An off-licence in Burnt Oak, London, and these hoodies are armed and violent. The purple bag conceals a gun. The ringleader covers his face, but he's already been caught on camera. He's a very nasty show-off and fires twice. The first bullet comes very close to the shop owner's mum. And the second, after they've got what they want, misses her son by inches. They take £150 cash and 3 bottles of champagne. We need the names of these 3. This fella likes his drink too, but he likes to come across as a bit of a connoisseur. He likes branded champagne, malt whiskey and expensive vodka. He just doesn't like paying for it. He's stolen around £2,000 worth of drink from 25 offies around London and Surrey. He often has a shopping list, and while staff have their hands full helping him, he helps himself to an armful of booze. Then he's away in a stolen 3-door white Ford Fiesta with a fake number plate. He's even running that on stolen petrol. Mum's champagne's his tipple, but Mum's not the word here. Who is he? Take a look at this credit card crook in the white overalls. But he doesn't do painting and decorating to earn the £3,200 he's taking out. He does theft and deception. Here at Lloyd's TSB in Durham, he's using someone else's credit cards and driving licence stolen earlier in the day. Who's the man in the white dungarees? These men are real Dell boys. They've got a thing about Dell laptops. They've bypassed security and entered this business in Ellesmere Port, Cheshire. They calmly set about shifting £25,000 worth of laptops. They then load them into their pale-coloured Ford Escort, and off they go. Where are these Dell boys now? If you've been offered a dodgy Dell or recognise any of that lot, the number to ring is on your screen.
Now, that rape we told you about earlier, it wasn't an attack out of nowhere by a total stranger. It started with a convivial drink in a pub full of people watching a game of rugby.
Stabbed to death at his home in Chelsea. Sir John refers to that and another recent case in London.
You're right.
And says now is the time.
What's wrong?
Nothing's happened, please. Hey.
4 hours of my life is blocked out. I don't know what was happening for 4 hours.
Earlier that day, she'd gone to meet her friend Egla for a few drinks in Hammersmith.
We haven't seen each other for maybe 6 months.
So tell me, how have you been?
All right. Just working and all the time, you know? Working. And how about you? Are you looking nice?
We had a chat, you know, sitting maybe, you know, until 3 o'clock.
At 3 o'clock, a rugby game started. New Zealand versus the Barbarians.
It was a group of guys, 3 guys, you know, came into a puzzle, and we sat down somewhere else, and she said, oh, it's my friend's boyfriend's friends, you know, I'm going to speak with him. You know. I think we were from Australia or maybe South Africa, you know, something, Australia or South Africa, and we were like sporty style, you know.
Okay, it's really nice to see you guys.
At some point, she was offered a glass of snakebite, only her 3rd drink that afternoon.
But from that moment, my memory started to get, you know, all funny. It's like, you know, I couldn't feel. It's not like you're getting drunk. When you're drunk, you know. It's this feeling, you know. It's like you're getting. I don't know how to explain that.
Yeah. Well, his parties tend to be pretty wild. So
I know.
Very, don't they, mate?
Yeah.
No.
Be nice of you.
Well, I'll be there too.
Something happened, you know. I couldn't see properly because I cannot remember their faces very well.
Sarah, I have to go now, but I will see you again soon, okay?
I just had a blackout. It was just, she said, okay, bye, you know, and I can't remember anything. It was just black. I can't remember anything.
She doesn't remember leaving the pub, but CCTV cameras picked her up leaving at 5 p.m. Somebody was with her. Do you recognise him?
At some point, someone said, let's go for a walk. But I don't know where it was. When and who told me that, I don't know. I just know what someone told me, let's go for a walk. And next thing I know, I'm standing in front of a door. I knew that it was many people in there. I couldn't see faces, I cannot see how many people there. It was really dark. But after that, I lost consciousness again. You know, you wake up and you don't understand what's going on. You don't understand why you're there and who he is, you know. I was in a state like I was out of my body. It's like my brain is somewhere else and it's my body there because I couldn't understand what's going on. It's I don't know how to explain that.
Sometimes the man who raped her was in the room. Sometimes he wasn't. But she remembers many things about her time there. He often sat and watched her from the end of the bed. At other times, she was sure others were watching. There was a TV in the corner of the room. The man who raped her had a distinctive tattoo on his left shoulder.
I used you.
And a piercing on his left eyebrow. It didn't seem to be just a man's room.
I think it belonged to a couple because it was, you know, this cupboard with a lot of, you know, like lady stuff on it. Like, you know, like makeup, I think, you know, with pads for makeup remover, you know. I don't think a man uses things like that. I start to feel cold, and that's when, you know, I start to think what I'm doing here. It's like, you know, like something like what I'm doing here, I have to go home, you know. I had no clothes, and I tried to look, and it was this pile, you know, of clothes on the floor, you know, but it was none of mine. In one room was empty. After I went into another one, and it was really small room, and it was a bed, and it was a red mark on it, and it was like really messy. I found my trousers, you know, my jumper.
Hey, stay for a bit.
No.
Come on, don't go yet.
No, I have to go.
Stay here with me for a while.
No, I must go.
The house where she was raped must have been close to the Fulham Palace Road. As we know, she caught a bus home from there.
You never know who he did, you know. Maybe he did it again and again and again, and someone else is suffering, you know. Why, I mean, what did I do? What did I do, you know, to deserve that, for example? Why I have to suffer for the rest of my life, you know, because of some idiot, you know, who has issues with himself. I can speak to men, you know, but I don't want them to touch me, you know. I'm just afraid, you know. It's just somewhere here, you know, I'm afraid.
Well, and who can blame her for being afraid? D.I. Sheila Annesley, we're not naming the girl in the film, we'll call her Sarah now for argument's sake. The man who raped Sarah, he had those very distinctive markers. There can't be many people who fit that description. What can you tell us about him?
Absolutely. The man I'm looking for in connection with this crime is white. He's in his mid-20s, stocky build and with an Antipodean accent. He also has a very distinctive hairstyle.
And those sideburns there as well?
Absolutely.
And then the piercing on his eyebrow?
Piercing in the left eyebrow.
This tattoo as well on his shoulder, it's like a kind of sunburst.
That's right. It's drawn in black ink. It's a sun, and inside that is a yin and yang symbol, actually drawn inside the sun.
Now, the thing is, she thinks he had a tattoo on his other shoulder blade as well. She's not quite sure, but she thinks he had one there as well.
That's right. She thinks it's predominantly blue in colour, and it's possibly a drawing of a bird.
Now, this happened, she was at, it was the 4th of December, run up to Christmas. She was in this pub called The Puzzle on the Fulham Palace Road. Yes. This whole episode, the rape took place around there, she believes, around the Fulham Palace Road. There was a Shell petrol station around there. That's right. There were people in the pub that you want to identify. You've got someone on CCTV who may or may not be anything to do with it. We can take a look at him. Say he may be a completely innocent bystander. This chap here.
That's right. We believe this man was drinking with our victim, Anne Egler. Again, I need to identify this man tonight and eliminate him from my inquiry.
Exactly, because you may be able to rule him out completely from this. Absolutely. And what about the people or the person that she left with? Not sure if it was one person, maybe it was two people. And again, you've got that on CCTV as well. There she is. Look, you can see she's leaning into him there, possibly struggling to stand up, and he's there in the white trousers.
That's right. Again, I need to eliminate this man from my inquiry. The picture shows only one man, but the victim is quite distinct that she actually was held up by two men at one stage.
And just quickly, her friend, Egler, who's Lithuanian.
That's right.
She's pretty much disappeared off the scene, but you want to hear from her.
That's right. Her full name is Egler Karzait. She's a Lithuanian lady, as you say. She used to live in the Fulham area, disappeared. I need her to contact me tonight. I believe she has vital information that can assist my inquiry.
She may have no idea, you know,
That's
what's
true.
happened.
Absolutely.
But you need to hear from her tonight.
Yes.
Well, you can call us here in the studio. You can call the incident room directly, 0208 246 2636. Now, it's worth pointing out this rape is being investigated by Project Sapphire. Now, that's a unit specially set up by the Metropolitan Police to investigate rapes. And Rav, you've just joined it, haven't you?
I have, yeah. It's still quite a new unit, Sapphire, but it is exactly that. It's specifically there to investigate rapes and serious sexual offences. And it's really, the main aim is to raise the bar of the standard of investigation into those offences and, of course, most importantly, victim care. And hopefully that will lead to more arrests and convictions at court.
Well, we all want to see that, wouldn't we? Not least for you, Dr. Bernadette Butler. You work for something called The Havens, which is there specific to help people, men, women, children, who've been raped. What can it do for them?
That's exactly right. Our patients, clients, complainants come either with the police or they can self-refer. And that buys them some time, effectively, where they can have a forensic examination if they choose, and then think about what their options are, whether they wish to report to the police or they want some more time to think about it.
So it can be somewhere where they can go, they can have a forensic examination, DNA can be taken and kept, but while they can think about what they want to do, whether they want to go to the police or not.
That's exactly right, yes indeed. And in parallel with that, we can provide any medical care that they may need, emergency contraception, antibiotics, and then arrange for them to return for the appropriate screening and counselling, which is difficult in the acute situation, but obviously important in the longer term.
And also, as we saw with our girl there, you know, she waited a few days, in fact, before she went to the police. She wasn't sure, and this somewhere like this could help someone like her or other people. Are there places like this all around the country?
There are 13 in total, 3 in London, the rest elsewhere in the UK, Manchester, Bristol, Swindon, and in Northumberland. But in other areas, no, there aren't sexual assault referral centres available, and that therefore often means the self-referral option isn't there, but a police forensic examination is.
Well, it would be good to see more of them, wouldn't it?
Probably it would.
So councils, health authorities, take note, and you'll find details of that advice we're just hearing there on the Home Office website. That's homeoffice.gov.uk/crime. It will then direct you to show you where these places are. And now Rav and Detective Constable Jackie Hames have some wanted faces for you to look at.
And we start with another man wanted for rape. In July 2004, Bob Kamara got talking to a woman in a Worcester pub. Later that night, he suspected of raping her in a nearby alleyway. Kamara was charged but failed to appear at court last November. He has left the area but works in the printing industry. So are you working with him now, or have you seen him?
Sohail Akrim is wanted in connection with a mobile phone fraud worth over £15 million. He was last seen in the Birmingham area with his wife and 4 children driving a V-Reg blue Honda people carrier. His alias include Sohail Qureshi, Sol Hamid and Sol Mohammed. He's 6 foot tall, slim and has a mild Scottish accent.
Jason Ryan Cook is wanted for downloading 372 indecent images and 68 video clips of young boys and girls. He's from Anglesey and has connections on both sides of the Irish border.
And 30-year-old Florine Hamilton, or Palmer, was arrested 4 years ago at Aberdeen train station. She was carrying 260 grams of crack cocaine. She was charged but didn't turn up for trial. Florine is Jamaican with connections in North London. She's 5'6" and has 2 2-inch scars on her right wrist. If you see any of these people, please give us a call.
This is smoke damage caused by a fire at a flat in Corbett House in the Barton area of Bristol in February. Inside the flat, the police found a body, that of 18-year-old Carly Dibble. Carly had set up her first home here just 6 weeks before she was beaten to death. She worked in Bristol's Club UK and she was involved in the city's drum and bass scene. This is her in the club just a few days before she was killed. The last sighting of her was caught on CCTV at 10:15 on Sunday night on February the 27th. She was probably killed early the following day. A lot of people were in and out of those flats at the time, including this man who was seen the night before. Were you one of those visitors to the flat? And police are also keen to trace a man who was seen walking from Corbett House towards Longlands House just before 8:30 the following morning, and that's Monday, February the 28th. He was in his 20s, mixed race, athletic build with a plaited shoulder-length hair, and he had a black zip-up jacket with very dark blue jeans. This is Leslie Woodhouse, who's Carly's mum, and Detective Superintendent Steve Tunks. Leslie, I have an 18-year-old who's just left home to live on his own for the first time. Any parent in that position, I mean, it's just unthinkable what you've gone through. As far as you know, there was nothing wrong in her life. She was
like any normal teenager, happy, going out, enjoying herself. She just got her flat, she just gained her independence. I could see that she had no problems at all.
And she was in touch with you, and
We spoke to each other every day. The last text I got from Kylie was Sunday evening at 10:15 to tell me that she'd arrived home safe and that I'd see her on Monday, but I never saw her on Monday.
Stephen Tunks, you're pretty clear that she was killed on the Monday morning.
Yes, indeed. She sent a text message to a friend saying that she was going to meet him later on that day, and that was timed at 7:44.
And then then the fire brigade was called at what, 45 minutes after?
Yes, 8:30 that
so
morning.
something happened between 7:45 and 8:30.
That's right. What we think is somebody's hiding the killer. Somebody would have seen somebody coming home or to a place of work that would have been out of character, may have had blood on their clothing or on their hands, and perhaps smelling of smoke. And we're asking for people to come forward with that person's name.
Blood on him because Kylie was really beaten.
She was badly beaten to death.
So
very vicious attack.
Maybe there was somebody who was knocking on doors, just going around and she opened the door to him, or what? Somebody who's been prowling around?
Absolutely. There may have been somebody hanging about. As you've alluded to, we've got a good description of somebody that's walking away around about the right time, and we've asked the public to see if they can identify that profit and give us that name.
Right, so it's back in February. Just go through that description again.
Okay.
Really important.
It's a mixed race male of about 20 years old, with thin features and an oval face. He had plaited hair which was swept back behind his face to his collar, and he was wearing a black jacket with dark blue jeans which were flared at the bottom, so quite distinctive.
Leslie, anything else you want to add?
Just see if there's anybody out there that's got any information, just to please come forward, just to put my mind at rest. I need to know what happened to my daughter. I need to know what she done so wrong to deserve this. She's left behind 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and they are really, really missing her terribly.
Well, let's see what viewers can do tonight. Please give us a call here in the studio or the incident room. That's on 0117 945 4848.
Now, DC Jackie Hames has more telling CCTV pictures we want you to look at. But actually, Jackie, just before you do, tell us about that ribbon you're wearing, because lots of the officers have got them on tonight.
Yeah, it's actually sold in aid of the Police Memorial Day, which this year is on the 2nd of October. And it's to help remember the 4,000 police officers that have been killed in the line of duty.
OK, well, let's take a look at this CCTV. First of all, bloke coming in to order his Big Mac into McDonald's, but he's not just after his Happy Meal, is he?
No, he's not. He's in fact a cold, calculating armed robber. This is McDonald's in Sheerness, Kent. I don't know if you saw, he had a rucksack down on his left side there, which he put on the floor. That actually contains a knife. But before doing anything with it, he sits down and eats a great big breakfast.
Which takes him about 20 minutes.
Yes. Gives us a chance to have a good look at him, though. So have a good look, see if you can recognise him.
And then he dives into his rucksack.
Yeah, he takes out a 6-inch kitchen knife from that rucksack. I think he's just going to do it very shortly. And he takes that out of his bag. Yeah, he's reaching down, and he walks over to the counter with it. He pushes his way behind that counter, threatening staff all the time. And he forces 4 of them to sit down on the floor while he binds their hands with tape, and he forces the manager to open the safe, where he takes out £1,000 worth of coins, so he must have got rid of those somewhere. The manager also loses his mobile phone, and then the man disappears from the shop. So please give us a call if you know who he is.
OK, let's
There he goes out of the shop.
There he goes, in
there,
fact.
you can see him there.
Off with his £1,000 worth of coins.
Yeah.
Stuck somewhere in his rucksack, presumably.
Very heavy, I should have thought. Very
OK, well, we
heavy.
get a good look at him
so
there.
give us a call if you recognise him, that woolly cat as well.
OK, well, let's see what we've got next. What about this pair?
Yeah, we're calling these the 2 European con men. They actually convinced a Brighton internet cafe owner to pay £900 for 2 laptop computers.
And the laptops were the genuine article, weren't they?
Yeah, the laptops were fine, but it was the salesmen that were the con men. They persuaded him to actually go with him to complete the deal, and on the way there's a struggle where they try and take the cash off him. He's struggling with them, as I say, but one of them actually produces a gun, so he says, right, and he hands the cash over very wisely. They grab the money and run. So we're looking to identify them. If you can recognise either of those 2, we'd really like to hear from them. You're potentially very dangerous.
OK, well, still in Brighton for a couple of extraordinary jewellery thefts. Tell us about those.
Yeah, the first one is a bag of these sort of rings and settings was stolen, just like this, by a jeweller who's actually visiting the lanes for the day with his 2 children, but he thought he'd try and sell them while he was there. They're worth £132,000. And he was looking to sell them, as I say, in 4 different shops he visited with no luck, but in fact he did really hit some trouble when he got to Pizza Express, because 4 people approached him. One of them was a woman, and he was distracted, and in fact one of the group members made off with the bag.
And how did they know what he had in the bag?
Yeah, this is the key from earlier on. Have a look at these 4 walking past the window. Here they come. Lovely clear pictures of them from this jeweller's shop. The woman followed by 3 men. We think that they're South American.
Here we are. We've got a great view of the 4 of them
brilliant
together,
pictures.
casing the joint.
Those, you're going to recognise them, aren't you?
Yes, you absolutely will. OK, there's a second jeweller fleeced again while visiting the lanes in Brighton. What happened to this person?
This man was carrying actually over £40,000 worth of jewels this time. Another distraction-type theft. It was actually the victim was a visitor to the UK. He was from Belgium, and he was also looking to sell this jewellery. He got to Pavilion Gardens when he was approached by this woman who said he had some dirt on his jacket. Went to brush it off. Next thing he knew, he'd been pickpocketed.
Now, the police did actually catch up with this woman, didn't they?
Yeah, we actually caught this lady, and unfortunately not her accomplice, because the jewels had disappeared, and it would appear that's what she'd done. She was arrested, and her passport was handed over. Eventually she was bailed. Unfortunately the passport was found to be a forgery. It was Venezuelan, and she's since disappeared. Here's a picture that was taken of her in the police station, firstly with her glasses, and then again we can see a second time without the glasses, so hopefully that'll help someone recognise her. And the name she gave was Maria Gomez Perez, but that obviously could well be false. So where's she?
OK, Jackie, thanks.
We have good news on our next case, very good news. We know who did it. We even know where he is. What we don't really know is who he did it to.
He was medium build, I suppose, slim to medium. He had long black hair. And that's about all I remember. I don't remember what he was wearing or anything like that.
Was he black or white?
White.
A white male?
That description is of a victim by his attacker. We can't identify the offender because he's a patient. He suffers from a dangerous form of schizophrenia, and he's been at Broadmoor for 7 years. He was detained indefinitely after being convicted of GBH and manslaughter. But one day, he made a startling confession.
About a year ago, police received a call from a doctor at Broadmoor who stated that a patient there had admitted to 3 stabbings about 10 years ago. I was aware that he'd been in Broadmoor for a number of years, and I was curious as to why he wanted to talk about these crimes now. Myself and my colleague attended Broadmoor Hospital to interview the patient concerned to identify if we had an offence to investigate. So can you carry on and tell us?
Yeah, I'd like to own up to the 3 stabbings that I've done. I'm not sure of the date, but it's a good 9 or 10 years ago. I just want to get it off my chest. Feel like the victims have got a right to know.
Okay, so there's 3 stabbings. Can you remember which order they were in?
First one was on Grinstead Road in Surrey Quays. Second one was in Peckham. And the third one was near Vauxhall Bridge.
Okay, so if we take the one in Surrey Quays, can you tell me everything that you can remember about that one?
I started hearing voices, and they were saying stab. And they were frightening me, sort of like a command. So I was doing what they were telling me. And so I just went looking for the first victim that was alone that I could see, really.
Can we talk about the second attack? Where was that?
That was Peckham.
Okay, and can you tell me everything you remember about that one?
I didn't want to do it. I was sort of fighting with myself not to do it. So I saw a man in a suit. He was in a supermarket area, and just followed him.
Okay, so initially the voices had been to stab a man or men.
Yeah.
But the second time it was something more specific.
To stab a man in a suit.
Okay. Can you tell me about the third incident?
Yeah, this is where I really can't remember the name of the road. I remember Vauxhall Bridge being around the area. And the voices are still saying stab. Just walking around. And this time I specifically see a grey-haired man. We walked into the station, but there were lots of people around, and the voices were still saying stab.
right, mate? What's up? Can you call an ambulance?
I was convinced after interviewing the male at Broadmoor that he was telling us the truth. He gave quite a lot of detail about each of the offences occurred. But not only that, he didn't try and fill in the pieces that he couldn't remember, and that convinced me that we had a case to progress.
But without the pieces he couldn't remember, it was going to be a problem. They knew where it had all happened. The question was, when?
I did have a breakthrough and managed to narrow the timescale down to November-December 1995. But that in itself led me into more difficulty as I discovered that the police records, the computer system didn't start until January 1996, which meant that I was dealing with a lot of paperwork, and records usually get destroyed after 7 years, so I knew that I had a difficult task ahead.
It was a mammoth paper chase. But the breakthrough came through plain old-fashioned memory. Jane emailed colleagues with details of the stabbings, and on one case, a constable called her with the answer. A decade after the attack, the Peckham victim finally had a name.
I just couldn't believe that they'd managed to achieve this. To say it was the best phone call I'd received in the last 10 years is certainly an understatement.
In 1995, Malcolm Mason lived and worked in Peckham. He was on his way home when he was attacked.
I was able to establish that there were similarities as described by the patient in Broadmoor. The location for one, the time scale, the time of day as described, but not only that, clothing that was worn and the description of the suspect concerned.
Well, I'd been walking down Peckham Hill Street and I noticed a complete stranger stood outside the chemist. I didn't think anything of it. Continued and crossed the road. As I stepped up on the pavement, I felt a sharp pain in my back, a bit like an electric shock. I put my hand under my jacket and realised that there was blood coming out of my back, something like a fire extinguisher. I realised at that point that if I didn't get some help quickly, I was going to bleed to death. On the corner there's a doctor's surgery, and I managed to stagger across the road and get through the doorway. At that point, I lost the use of my legs and collapsed on the floor.
The knife had penetrated a long way and missed a number of my major organs. The doctor explained to me that the stabbing was a very serious one. I was left in no doubt I was very lucky to be alive. For quite some time it was uncertain whether I was going to survive, and after that there was some uncertainty whether I was going to be paralysed for the rest of my life. The questions that were going through my mind is, was it a crime premeditated with the thought of theft, or did the person know me from the past and had done it for some reason, although I couldn't think of any reason why anybody would want to try and kill me. I believe it's very important that the other victims of these stabbing incidents be traced, because they will be left with so many questions that are unanswered.
I've seen what a difference it has made to the life of Malcolm, and I would really like to be able to offer the same to the outstanding two victims.
Jane, if the other victims were as badly injured as Malcolm, I mean, he was so badly hurt, his wife was actually told he was dead.
That's right.
Nobody's going to forget being stabbed in the street.
Hopefully not. What we're appealing for tonight is for two victims. The first victim we're looking for was stabbed in Grinstead Road, we believe before the 8th of November 1995.
Now, the guy who did it, who's in Broadmoor, of course, as I say, in for manslaughter and GBH, he's given you good description of these people as well, these victims.
He has.
So this one, the first one, take us through what that person was like 10 years ago.
Grinstead Road, he was described as being a white male, quite tall, slim build, about 33 years of age, 10 years ago, and he's described as having long dark hair.
So he or his family must remember, his friends will remember this happening in Surrey Quays 10 years ago. Then the one in Vauxhall, what was that victim like?
That's right, that's believed to have happened after the 8th of November, and we're looking for a male who was about 60 10 years ago, and he's described as having grey hair, about 5 foot 11 inches tall, and hopefully him or some officers or witnesses at the time may remember something and come forward tonight.
And of course the victim himself will be about 70 now, or in his 70s as far as we know. Do call us here, or call the incident room, that's 020 7232 6166. Right.
Well, I'm just going to update you on some calls, but we've got an absolute stonker that's just come in. The Hammersmith rapist. Not only have we had several names given for those suspects, but we've also had a call from Egler, that vital witness that the police have been looking for so long. So that's really, really encouraging stuff. We've also had Robert Miller Sharp, who was the male that robbed his own colleague in the Bognor charity shop. We may well have had a sighting of him as recently as yesterday. He was apparently waiting in a hospital waiting room, perhaps getting that gangrenous foot looked at. We've also had further names suggested for the CCTV thief and the off licence, and also those Dell boys. We've had several names for those, the ones that stole all these laptops, again caught on CCTV. The lines are still open. Please do give us a call, and we'll have more in the update programme later.
Of course we will at 10:35, but we can't leave you from the main programme without trying to solve a mystery that has perplexed man ever since he first learned to put one foot in front of the other. Where do all the odd socks go?
Can you imagine losing 25,000 odd socks?
Well, that's what happened to the publishers of the children's book series The Oddies. 50 giant boxes of odd socks to go with the books vanished from a Suffolk lorry park last weekend. Now, even though they're odd, they're valued at £125,000.
And they haven't been found down the back of anyone's sofa. They're for 3 to 7-year-olds. They come in various odd pairings of nurse, footballer, ballerina, and look, cops and robbers.
And remember, they're only supposed to be sold with the books. So if they're offered to you, as an odd pair as it were, or even on their own, you'll know they've been stolen.
The odd number hotline to Suffolk Police is 01473 613 500. And you can find details of all tonight's cases on our website, bbc.co.uk/crime. Our phone lines are open till midnight tonight and from 7:30 till midnight tomorrow.
And as we've been saying, we're back after the news with Crimewatch Update at 10:35. Looks like we'll have quite a lot to report then. Please join us if you can. Next Crimewatch next month, Wednesday the 5th of October. Well, whatever happens, don't have nightmares, do sleep well. For now, good night.
Good night.